She was like, this isn't normal, you shouldn't be bleeding this much, I need you to go to the emergency room right now. Welcome back to my channel, guys. So today is April 7th. Yesterday was actually Beige's due date, April 6th. But yesterday was actually Beige's original due date. In honor of her making a month-old on Monday, I would give you guys an in-depth story about my birth story. I spoke a little bit about this on Instagram. I made a post just kind of briefly saying what happened. I didn't like go into full detail because it was an Instagram post. But I wanted to make a full video about what happened and how Beige came early, because she did come a month early, which was completely unexpected. So yeah, I wanted to tell you guys the story. Oh, and we have little Beige Pie here. She just woke up, so hopefully she'll let us record. What you think? I think she wants milk, y'all. Hold on, let's take a little milk break, huh? Okay, so yeah, I wanted to tell you guys the story of how I had Beige. So I feel like it's only right to give you guys a backstory about my birth with Bella before I tell you guys about the birth with Beige, just so that you can like compare and contrast and see how crazy it was. So with Bella, I had a super easy birth. So pretty much I was at the hospital when I had Bella, of course, whenever I went into labor, and I already had my medicine and everything. I had medicine pretty much from the moment I was there, and it was like a super easy birth. I had an epidural. So pretty much Bella's birth was planned. Because you guys know her dad is overseas, we had to have a set date of when the baby was coming, pretty much, to make sure that he was going to be able to be here for the birth. So we planned an induction for, I think it was after Bella's due date or right before her due date. It was before her due date, like a few days before her due date, just to make sure that she came on a certain day. That way he would be able to be here at the birth, and that he will be able to spend time with her after she was born. So we scheduled her due date, and I was able to pack my bags, go to the hospital. I think I did my hair and makeup before I went and everything. And yeah, we just arrived to the hospital. They set me up in the room. They gave me my medicine, hooked me up on like the medicine and everything. And they were just monitoring the baby. I think whenever I first got there, I was like 2 centimeters dilated. So I was already starting a little bit, but it wasn't anything crazy. And they gave me something to dilate my cervix. I started dilating pretty fast, and then I started having like little contractions. Not anything crazy, but whatever they gave me, I guess it like relaxed whatever needed to be relaxed. I don't know. Basically, y'all, my water broke in the hospital. And then right after my water broke is when I started having the contractions. And they told me that pretty much after your water breaks, that's whenever the contractions start to get a little bit stronger. So I might need the epidural. And I could either take it right then or wait a little bit and see like if I wanted to get, you know, let them know whenever I wanted to have it. So I was like, oh no, like I'm fine. Like it's not bad or anything. I'll just wait. So after a while, I did start having contractions, and they started, it just kind of felt like really strong period cramps. Like I didn't realize it was contractions until they started getting pretty bad. And I called the nurse on the little thing and just let them know like that I was ready to have the epidural. And while I was waiting on them to bring the epidural, that's when it started to get pretty painful. And I don't remember much from that. I just remember the doctor having me sit up, and I like turned my back to them, and they were like explaining everything about the epidural to me. And there was a nurse in front of me that basically, I was really scared to get the epidural, to be honest with you guys. And I have like a really sensitive back, so if someone touches my back, say like whenever I get a massage or anything, if someone touches like my lower back, it makes me jump. Like I have a lot of nerves in my back. So I was just really scared that whenever they put the needle in me that I was gonna jump. So I basically let them know beforehand, like I have a really ticklish back. So I was like, I don't know if like how this will go. So they were like, we're gonna have, you know, we're gonna have someone stand in front of you. And like, so I had a nurse in front of me, and she was just kind of comforting me. Like I think I was holding her arms, and I had like my face like down, like kind of like into not her chest, but you know, she was in front of me. So yeah, and they gave me the epidural. It didn't hurt at all, honestly. I don't even remember what the pain felt like. Yeah, they gave me the epidural and they left out, and they let my boyfriend come back in, because you guys know, or you probably don't know, but whenever you get the epidural, no one can be in the room with you. So they let him come back in, and we were just kind of playing the waiting game at that point. I think I fell asleep. I took a nap, and when I woke up, my mom was there. I hope this story is like making sense, because I feel like I'm just all over the place. But whenever I woke up, my mom was there. It was like 6 in the morning or so. My mom had got there, and it was just me, my mom, and my boyfriend, right? So we're sitting there, and I'm like talking to my mom or whatever, and mid-sentence, like mid-conversation, I was like, I feel like I can feel the baby like pushing down. Like I feel like I can feel pressure in my pelvic area. My mom was like, well, if you feel that way, then you need to let the nurse know, because it probably means that she is down there and that she's coming. So I'm like, okay. So I called the nurse. I didn't really think anything of it, but I called the nurse, and I was like, yeah, like I feel like I can feel pressure down there, you know, I just want to let you guys know. So they're like, okay, we'll come and check you. So they come into the room and they check my cervix, and guys, when I tell you, it was the craziest thing. They were like, so yeah, you're dilated, the baby is 10 centimeters dilated, so you're about to have the baby. And I'm just sitting there like, what? Like I didn't think that she was actually coming. Like I didn't know what I was feeling, but I knew I was feeling pressure. So they were like, yep, it's time to have a baby. Like, are you ready to have a baby? And I'm like, I guess, like, let's just get this started. So they go and call my doctor, and while they wait on my doctor to get there, they're like, let's do some practice pushes. So they had me like raise my legs up and hold them, and they told me like how to push. Like you basically have to like push down really hard. You like breathe in, and then once they can see like a contraction on the monitor, that's whenever you push down really hard. And I do that 2 times. Then after those 2 times, they're like, okay, like you have to stop, you have to wait, because if you push anymore, this baby is gonna come before your doctor gets here. So I had to stop pushing, and I had to wait. And they told me that my doctor was going to be there in like 15 minutes. And y'all, when I tell you this was the longest 15 minutes of my life, like it felt like forever. And whenever my doctor got there, she just quickly, you know, got everything together, and she just had me, you know, she was just like, let's just get started. Like I wish they would have told me that, you know, I wish they would have told me sooner, and I would have been here sooner. But pretty much I only had to push 2 more times, and Bella was out. And guys, literally like after she came and they put her on my chest, I was just thinking to myself like, wow, that was so easy. That was like the easiest thing ever. Like I could literally do that 100 more times. Like that's what I was thinking in my head, because I was just like, that was so easy. Like I've always heard like really scary birth stories, and because it was so easy to have Bella, I was just thinking like, birth is nothing like what everyone's saying. Well, that was until I had Beige. So pretty much my pregnancy with Beige was completely different. With Bella, I felt like I never really felt pregnant. Like I had the easiest pregnancy physically. Mentally, I felt like I was very worried and I was very anxious throughout my pregnancy. But physically, I didn't feel like I felt perfect. But with Beige, I felt really calm mentally and like very just happy and relaxed. But physically, I was in so much pain. Like it started at around 5 months or so. I started having like really bad back pain and really bad pelvic pain. And I remember with Bella, I got back pain and pelvic pain around like the 8th or 9th month. So to have it so soon at like 5 months, I was like, this is very, like, I just thought it was like a second pregnancy thing, you know. But I think that was like the start of like telling me that it was something more. So pretty much, I remember, I think I was like 8 months pregnant with Beige, and I fell asleep on the couch, and I was just in so much pain whenever I woke up that I literally couldn't get up, and I couldn't move, and I couldn't walk, and I had to ask my boyfriend to like carry me into the bed because I was in so much pain. And he's so sweet. He actually did it. Like that was actually the sweetest thing ever, because I didn't think he would actually do it. But he like carried me to the bed and put me in the bed, and I just went to sleep. But pretty much that's just like a great depiction of my pregnancy with Beige. Like towards the end, I was just in so much pain and I was so uncomfortable. But I was in France and I had Bella, of course. So I don't know where I was going with that, but pretty much it was just very different. I had to come back home. You guys know I came back to the US because I just couldn't find a good doctor, and I just didn't feel comfortable having the baby out there and like going through the labor and everything out there, because it was just so different. Well, I thank God now that I did come back home, because basically whenever I got back home, I was still having like the pain and everything like that, but I was able to see my doctor. My doctor didn't notice anything, everything seemed fine. But those last few weeks I was having Braxton Hicks contractions every day. Well, at least that's what it felt like. So I think it was maybe a week or two after I got back here to the US, I was going to sleep at like 6 a.m. something crazy like that, because I was up and like talking to my mom, working, doing things like that. I didn't like try to get into the bed until 6 a.m. So whenever I went to go lay down, I was just having really bad Braxton Hicks contractions, or at least that's what I think they were, or what I thought they were. I was contracting really bad, and it was very frequent. Like, the contractions were definitely coming, because they tell you to not go to the hospital unless your contractions are coming every 5 minutes and they are lasting longer than 30 to 60 seconds or something like that, and you have 5 within an hour. So they were coming definitely more than every 5 minutes. They were coming like 5 minutes to 3 minutes to 2 minutes, and they were lasting a good minute at least. And I felt like with each one it was getting stronger, and I had like maybe 6 or 7 within an hour, like back to back. So I got up and I got dressed, and I was going to the hospital. I was going to the emergency room. But literally right after I got dressed, the contractions stopped. So I was like, well, I'm just not gonna go to the emergency room then, because they're gonna tell me that I'm not in labor and to go back home, and either that or they're gonna keep me in the hospital all day. And I'm like, I don't want to stay in the emergency room all day, and it's like already 6 in the morning and I didn't get any sleep, and I'm not gonna get any sleep the whole day, and then I'm gonna have to be taking care of Belle all day off of no sleep. So I was like, I'm just gonna stay home and I'm just gonna go back to sleep, because like nothing happened, it was fine. And if it starts again, then I'll go to the hospital. So that happened, and I never again had an episode like that where it was like back to back to back, really strong contractions and that many. So I never tried to go to the hospital again for contractions. But pretty much every day after that, I would have some sort of contraction. So I would have like just here and there little contractions, but it was never anything serious where it would make me go to the hospital, right? So I'm pretty sure I didn't bring it up at my appointment, just because I would always look it up and they would tell me basically that it was nothing. Anytime I would look it up online, it would say that it was nothing. So I never went to the doctor for it. I never told my doctor about it, and I never went to the emergency room for it. So it was just one random day. I was having like back pain and pelvic pain and everything like that before I went to sleep. And I was just moaning and groaning and complaining to my mom about how I couldn't wait to have this baby, because I'm in so much pain and I just can't wait to get this over with. And I don't know how I'm gonna go 4 more weeks being pregnant, because I'm in so much pain and I'm so miserable. Like, it was that bad, right? That was me right before I went to sleep, right? So the next day I wake up and I'm in the bed and I'm not feeling any pain or anything like that. I haven't moved around or anything like that. I wasn't feeling any contractions or anything. Like, it was just fine. Everything seemed fine. I'm like posting on Instagram like everything's fine, and I get up to go use the bathroom. Like, you know, you pee in the mornings. I get up to go pee and I wipe myself, and I just so happened to look at the toilet paper, because it felt, you know, I look at the toilet tissue and there's blood all over it. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm not supposed to be bleeding, especially because I was like 8 months pregnant. No, I was 9 months pregnant. I had just turned 9 months pregnant. And literally, I think the day before I posted my 35-week update, which is crazy, or 36-week update. So yeah, I just turned 9 months pregnant. So I wipe myself and I see the blood. So I'm like, what the hell? I check the toilet, there's blood in the toilet. I check my tights, because I went to sleep wearing tights and there's blood all in the tights. So I go and I look at my bed and there's blood all in my bed. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? I look it up. I think I tried to call my boyfriend first and he didn't pick up. I think he was at practice. So I called my friend and I told her what happened, and we both looked it up on Google, and it basically was saying like that it was something called a bloody show, basically where like you lose your mucus plug and you'll probably bleed a little bit after losing your mucus plug, which is basically like letting you know that you're gonna go into labor the next day or 2 days after. Oh, her bow came off. So I'm thinking I just had a bloody show and that I was just gonna go into labor. So I texted my boyfriend. I was just like, hey, like, I don't want to get you like nervous or anything, but I just want to let you know, like, I think that the baby might be coming Well, I don't know if I texted him before or after the doctor, but I'm gonna just tell you guys what I told him. But I was just like, hey, like, I just want to let you know that the baby might be coming tomorrow or the next day, so I need you to go ahead and book your flight. So yeah, I told him that. And then I'm pretty sure I called, yeah, so I called my doctor because, or the doctor's office, because I had an appointment that day for 2 p.m. So I called them and I tell them like, hey, like, I just woke up, I'm bleeding pretty bad. I don't know if I should go to the emergency room or should I just wait for my appointment at 2 p.m. So it's like 11 o'clock, right? And they're like, oh, well, can you just come in like 30 minutes? Like, can you come in at 11:30? And I was like, yeah, like, that should be fine. Like, I'll just quickly get ready and just come. And they're like, okay. So y'all, I literally tried to go and do my hair and my makeup because I'm like, if I'm about to go into labor tomorrow, I want to have my hair and makeup done like how I have with Belle. So I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and do my hair and makeup. Meanwhile, I told my other friend too, and they're like, no, like, you need to go to the hospital right now. Like, don't try to do any of that. Go to the hospital right now. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just try to hurry up and get ready. So I just do my hair really quick. I like put it up in a bun or whatever, and I got dressed and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. My mom was watching Belle, and while I was leaving, I like told my mom's chef like that we're probably gonna have a baby, like I'm probably going into labor. Little did I know. So I leave and I drive myself to the doctor's office, and when I tell you guys, literally everyone was driving so freaking slow this day for some reason. There was just always, there was just someone in front of me driving so slow at every turn. Like, I could not get to my doctor's office fast enough. But I get there and they call me to the back, and when I get there, my doctor, she's like, well, let's just go. Well, no, the nurse first asked me. She's like, oh, so like you noticed some spotting? And I'm like, no, it wasn't spotting. Like, it was actually a lot of blood. Like, there was a lot of blood. Like, I woke up in a lot of blood. And she's just like, oh, okay, well, Dr. Smith is gonna have a look at you. So the doctor comes in and she checks my cervix. And if you guys know, if you've ever had your cervix checked, that crap hurts so freaking bad. So she checks my cervix and she tells me that I'm 4 centimeters dilated. So I'm like, oh shit, like, I'm about to really go into labor, because the last time I was pregnant with Belle and I was dilated like 2 centimeters, I went into labor like that fast, like that quick. So I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to go into labor. So she checks my cervix and she pulls her hand out from checking me, and blood gushes everywhere. But it was to the point where even she got scared and she was like, this isn't normal. You shouldn't be bleeding this much. I need you to go to the emergency room right now. So she asked me if anyone can drive me to the emergency room or if I drove myself. So I told her that I drove myself, and she's just like, well, I'm gonna drive you myself because I don't feel comfortable with you driving to the emergency room yourself. Keep in mind, guys, the emergency room is literally right across the street from the doctor's office. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of like, I didn't think it was as serious as it was. So she drives me there. She puts me in her car herself. She leaves the office, leaves her patients and everything, and drives me to the emergency room. And the ride there, I'm like, so like, is this like really serious? Like, should I be scared? And she's just like, you know, trying to keep me calm. She's like, oh no, it could be this or it could be that, but we don't know for sure. Let's just get you to the emergency room and I'll get you checked out and stuff. So we get there and they have me undressed and they start monitoring the baby. And you know, they check her heart rate and everything. She is doing pretty good. So the doctor comes back in there and she checks my bleeding again, and she tells me that the bleeding is actually getting better. So I'm like, okay, cool. So she leaves out and I can hear on the monitor that the baby's heart rate is getting like lower. So I call them back in and I'm like, hey, like, should I be worried? Like, the baby's heart rate is getting lower. And they're like, okay. They tell me that the doctor's gonna come in and check again. So then the doctor comes back in and she checks and she's like, yeah, the baby's heart rate is getting kind of low, but you look fine. It looks fine. I think that we should do a C-section though, because like, it could go, like, this could be bad pretty much. And basically she was just like, either we can monitor it for another hour or we can just go ahead and do it now. So I'm like, at this point, like, we might as well just go ahead and do it now, because there's no reason to really wait, and I don't want to, like, it's just no reason to really wait. So it's like, okay, that's fine. So literally, guys, I'm trying not to like tell the story too fast, but my camera's dying. But pretty much the anesthesiologist comes in and asks me all the questions, and he's just like, just in case we don't have time to do an epidural C-section, I want to get all these questions out the way in case we have to put you to sleep. So pretty much within the time span of me getting there and me going to the back to have the C-section, it was like 15 minutes. So the only thing I had time to do was call my mom and tell her that I was gonna have an emergency C-section, and call my boyfriend and tell him that I was gonna have an emergency C-section, and hope that he can get his flight to come and be there. But I mean, pretty much I knew that he wasn't going to be able to make it in time for the C-section, and I honestly thought my mom would be able to make it, but even she didn't have time to make it. Like, they rolled me to the back, and we agreed to do the emergency C-section. We didn't have time to do an epidural like how you would usually do a C-section, so I had to be put to sleep. So they rolled me to the back and they gave me the catheter. And literally, when they put the catheter in me, it was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. And I think just like all the emotions and everything just running high, and I was like getting pretty scared at this point. They put the catheter in me and it hurt so bad that I literally screamed, and I just started crying. Like, I just burst out in tears and I was crying. And the nurses and stuff, like, they had to like calm me down, because I was like, I have to sit up. Like, I feel lightheaded. Whenever, for some reason with this pregnancy, whenever I would lay on my back, I would get like to where I couldn't breathe and get like lightheaded. So I was like, I have to sit up, I can't breathe. So they set me up, and the nurse was trying to calm me down. They gave me like oxygen, and they were like, you know, you have to calm down, we have to get the baby out. So I started to like breathe in the oxygen and calm down, and I was like, okay, like, I'm ready. So I laid back down, and my doctor came over, and she basically told the anesthesiologist, like, okay, we have to hurry up and put her to sleep, because we have to hurry up and get this baby out, because Beige isn't happy. Like, she's not doing good. So after I heard that, pretty much in my mind, I was figuring that maybe she was starting to lose oxygen, and then, you know, pretty much what the mom feels is what the baby feels. So she was feeling like my nerves and her nerves were probably getting bad, and since her heart rate was already sounding kind of low, like, it kind of scared me to think that maybe her heart rate was getting even lower. So they put me to sleep right away, and when I woke up, I'd already had her, and my mom was there. She got there literally right after I had Beige, and they brought Beige into the room with me, and I was just looking at her. She was so cute. I was just in love with her. But even when I woke up from the whole surgery and everything, I was just so happy. I don't know what it was about this whole experience. Like, it was very traumatic, but for some reason, whenever I woke up, I was like so happy. Like, and even now I still feel like the same way, because I used to deal with like anxiety a lot before I had her, and like just in general I used to deal with that a lot. And whenever I woke up, I was just so happy, and it felt like I was just like on cloud nine. Like, nothing could make me upset. And I feel like because it was such a traumatic experience, that it just did, like, it flipped a switch in me, in my brain or something, to where I just couldn't, I don't know, I just felt like a 180. But after we were in our room for a while, my doctor came and talked to me. I'll just say Beige was born at 6 pounds 14 ounces. She was 18 inches, so she was literally 1 ounce smaller than Bella, and she was 1 inch smaller than Bella. So she was like the same size as Bella, like weight wise, but she's a little bit shorter. So she looked super chunky when she was born. She still looks very chunky. But after a while, you know, the nurses come in and they check on you and everything, and my doctor came in and she talked to me and just came in and checked on me, and she was just like, thank God that you came in whenever you did, because if you would have came in any later, it wouldn't have been good. And I asked her, like, do you think like even 30 minutes later, like if I would have showed up 30 minutes later, like it would have still been as bad? And she was just like, yeah, like if you would have came even 30 minutes later, it wouldn't have been good for you. So she didn't tell me everything about a placenta abruption, but basically after I looked it up on my own, basically what happens is the placenta comes off of the wall of your cervix, and that's pretty much what happened. My placenta came off of my cervix, off of the wall of the cervix, and Beige was like losing oxygen on the inside, so that's why they had to get her out so fast, and probably why her heart rate was getting really low. They said like it's a very rare thing. My doctor doesn't know why it happened. There's really no explanation of why it happened, but whenever she took my placenta, whenever she delivered the baby and took the placenta out, she said that it was covered in blood clots, and I don't know what that means. It's I even hate like picturing that. But yeah, basically if we would have got there any later, I really don't think that either one of us would be here. So I don't know, it's just like a really big blessing, and I'm just so grateful. And I think that's too why I'm just like a complete 180 shift like in my whole mental. It's because we were like so close to like a near-death experience that coming out on the other side and being healthy and alive, it's just like I just feel so grateful. Like literally I feel so grateful and so blessed. Like, not to sound corny or cheesy or whatever, I literally feel so grateful that we're here and that Beige is healthy and I'm healthy and everything worked out the way it did. So yeah, that is the birth story of Beige. I feel like there's so much more I can say, like even more details I could have went into, but this video is already super long, so I don't want to keep you guys and like have to go through and like try to remember every little detail. But let me show you guys my Beige pie. Oh, she hates being moved while she's asleep. But this is her today. She's so cute, and she is officially 1 month old. Yesterday, like I said, was her due date, so I weighed her yesterday and she was like 9.5 pounds, or she was 9 pounds 8 ounces, something like that. So pretty much that is how big she would have been in my belly, and that's the weight that she would have delivered. She would have delivered at. So I am honestly so happy that she came early, because I don't think I could have went another month carrying a 9-pound baby. So yeah, I'm just so happy and so blessed that things worked out the way that it did. And I don't know if I said this, but her dad did arrive to the hospital the day after she was born, so he was able to be there in the hospital with us, and I'm so grateful for that he was able to get a flight so last minute, and that he was there with us and he was able to spend some time with us before he had to go back to work. And now we are just playing the waiting game until he gets to come back home. But honestly, y'all, I'm just so happy that things worked out the way that it did. And now the sun is really going down, so I'm just gonna go ahead and close this video out. And I just want to say that I hope that you guys did enjoy this video and learning about the story of the birth of Beige Pie and Belle, because they were just two polar opposites, and it's just crazy to me. Like literally every pregnancy is so different, and you just have to be grateful and happy, because there are so many complications that can go wrong during pregnancy and birth and everything, that it really is just a blessing to have a healthy baby and a healthy pregnancy and healthy delivery and everything like that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did like it, then make sure that you comment, like, and subscribe for more videos, and I will see you in my next one.